Okay, so let's get to that point. So now you're in Kosovo. You have this great revelation and some insight from God, really true perspective and clarity and vision. And then you marry. Like, how does that happen?
I was in a good place.
Yeah.
And then I started doing volunteer work.
Like, we thought was the one. Remember? Like, we're like, okay, all right.
And I thought so too. River Bible Church had a prison ministry for young girls. And I remember going there every Tuesday night. It's an actual prison for young girls, 11 through 18 in Warrenville. Yes. And I've never experienced anything like that before. I'm still working through things myself, trying to take care of my kids and trying to learn about God. Like, I learned you have to be prayed up, because you went in there and I felt like I was beat up with these girls because it was crazy. It was tough. There's a lot of things in there that it's just different. It's hard, but you love them and you just love them. The chaplain there, you feel for those girls that are there. And I understand, because a lot of them, I really get it. It's like, I get you. But I still had 2 girls of my own, and telling him that, sitting down in his office and saying, look, I really love working here, but I have to admit it. I mean, what kind of fool is going to go out and try to save other people's kids and lose their own in the process? You know, I just can't do that. You know, it's like, think that would be like crazy of me. I'm coming here every Tuesday, and then, you know, my girls are at that age now, and I'm out here and trying to save someone else's kids, and then my girls are going to be, you know, caught up in stuff because I'm not home. And I remember telling him that, and he said, well, you know what, let's just pray about it. And so when we prayed about it, I remember he was sharing with me, we were praying, and he says, you know what, Delia? He says, I feel like the Lord is saying to you, you take care of my kids and I'll take care of yours. And when he said that, it's like something clicked in me. Like, this is truth. This sounds like you, God. So I believed it. And I'm like, okay. That knowing. So when I talked earlier about, well, when that still small voice, it's like a still small voice, and it sounds like your own voice, but there's like a knowing that comes to it. It's like a deep knowing inside your own spirit. It's like a knowing where there's no reason or rhyme or anything to it. It's just like, you just know. Everybody's given a measure of truth. You know, we're all given like faith, and we're all given truth. And when you tap into that and you get that feeling, it's like, oh, like this is resonating in me. Like, yeah, I feel this, yeah, there's something to this here. But I tell you, every Tuesday driving back, I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, watch over my girls. And I'm like hearing all these stories from these girls, all the trouble they got in because their parents weren't around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all I had to hold on to, was believing. When he said that, I had to believe that was his word. And he's faithful to his work, and he's faithful to his word. And so when you got pregnant, oh my gosh, let me tell you.
Tell me. I made you a grandma at how old were you?
36.
I'm 35. Can you imagine?
I was like, oh, hecky, no. I was so mad. I'll never forget. I was in tears. I was crying my eyeballs out.
Not the day of. The day of, you were great.
Well, you done threw the whole big old thing in my plan. I was like, what? Oh.
Okay, so tell me.
I was so mad. I was so mad at God. I mean, I was so mad. And that's the beautiful thing, is God can handle your anger. I just remember sitting in the car, crying my eyeballs out, and calling Sandy, my friend Sandy. She called me, asking me to encourage her about something. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know nothing anymore. I don't know anything anymore. Because God let me down. He let me down. Because, see, I've been doing everything I'm supposed to do. I've been taking care of his girls, and he did not take care of mine. I was so mad. I'm like, he did not take care of mine. Because look, she's pregnant. You slacked on the job, God. I'm so mad at you right now. I can't even trust you anymore.
Why were you more mad at God than me?
I don't know.
Like, why?
I don't know.
Why is this God's fault?
Because God's greater than you are. Because God's greater than you are. And you know what? And you know what, too, I think, first of all, it's like I would never, ever want to put any hurt or pain on you guys.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
And you don't.
And I didn't want you to feel ashamed. I didn't want you to feel ashamed.
In that moment, you were so graceful. Okay, it's okay. We're going to get through this. You'll be fine. I was shocked because I was prepared for battle. I was like, oh, I'm pregnant and we're going to duke it out because she's going to be so mad. They're like, oh my gosh. I was so scared. And you were so graceful, so loving, and I felt like, oh, she's been through this before with her, she knows what it's like.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, the compassion is strong with her.
With you. But then I said, well, you know how the wife goes to the husband?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I did. I said, what?
Yeah.
I said, what? Where were you?
And then what happened?
I go back to the promises that he gives me. And that's when I look in the Bible and he reminds me of all the promises that he gave me and everything that he brought me through. And you think about everything he brought me through that far. Like David, when he slew Goliath, how did he know he could take on Goliath? Because God was with him when he took down the bear. Mm-hmm. And God was with him when he took down the lion. So Goliath wasn't nothing. So it's like, God, you've proven yourself. I was just mad for a minute. I was just mad because I was disappointed and I thought, and forgive me. Because, see, I know you love me and we can take out our anger on those that we know that love us.
Yeah.
And I knew that. It's like, okay, you make all things good. Because he reminds me, I got you. It's like, do you believe me or not?
Yeah.
Like, it's like serious. It's like, you either believe me or you don't.
Yes.
Because only I can give life. Mm-hmm. And if I gave life, that means I'm going to do something really good here.
Yeah. And then you're in. You're like, okay, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
And where would you be now without your John? Where would you be now?
My baby. So cute. All of them. They're so cute. Where would Jason be?
Okay. So I got pregnant, guys. We know this happens. It turns out well, though. I finished school and she ends up meeting this guy that we all thought he was the one.
I mean, initially we thought so. See, we have to work through our issues. We have to work through those issues. Otherwise, it's going to spill over in every aspect. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened there. Because as we were dating and when we got engaged, it was great. But then once we were engaged, those red flags started coming out. And I remember going to the pastors and saying, wait a minute now. I'm getting some red flags here and I'm just not feeling this is good for me right now. And I remember them saying, Delia, make no mistake. Like the Lord told me that was my husband. This is your husband. And I'm like, I don't know about that. So can we change the date then? Because I'm still not feeling this right now. Like, I'm ready to change the date at least. Because I'm just not feeling this. Has got a lot of red flags. And it's just like, I'm not sure here. And she says, nope, you don't change the date. This is the man for you. And myself going back to my own issues, because I'm gonna own that, because I have to own that. It was me. I could have said, no, God doesn't tell you who to marry in this day and age. He gives us free will. But there, I was like, okay.
Because I think you submitted your authority, your knowing towards people who are in appearance in positions of authority. We do this all the time with work, with our bosses. We do this all the time with rent and our landlords, or, you know, And that's an area in which you're going to a pastor, someone in a authority position, especially a godly position. There's almost a different level of reverence there, because you don't want to go against God's person. But at the same time, what you're saying is true. What you are saying is very important, which is no one can tell you what is for you.
Truth.
Ever. They can, maybe at that time was going off of faith. Like, God, this is what you're telling me, and I'm going to speak it. But that doesn't mean that that's yours to carry. And so when we give that authority, that deferred, like basically you're deferring the decision to someone else, right? That's where that happens. And I think that happens a lot of times in the church.
And you know what?
A lot, because God's name is now invoked.
Right.
And that's what I don't like. I hate that. Right. I hate when somebody else tells me what God is trying to tell me.
I allowed myself to get to a point where I believed that I didn't hear God's voice anymore. They were the voice of God.
Where they had special access. Basically, you devalued yourself again. And that was just another example of that whole scenario kind of repeating.
Down. Right.
It's just a bad marriage. That's all it was. And it wasn't even the people. Andy wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. It wasn't the right fit. And it wasn't the right time. And it wasn't the right thing that you needed.
But God is so good. But God is so good that he's faithful to who he is, that when I married him, it just completely turned around. So ugly. It got so ugly so quick. Like reverse. And it got so ugly, like super quick. What changed was when he lost his job. That's what changed. So he lost his value. So he devalued me. Because whenever you devalue someone else, you feel better about yourself. So he lost his job. He didn't feel good about himself. He took a job in Missouri. Didn't even talk to me about mine. You were married. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, well, can I go over there and visit you on the weekends at least? And he said, no, I'm too busy working. I'm too busy doing this. And it's like, you feel the cold shoulder right away. All of a sudden, it's like, And before, where he was making a substantial amount of money and I was making a small amount of money compared to what he was making, and he didn't care. Mind you, I had zero debt. At this time, I had no debt. And he had huge debt. But he was making a lot of money, and I was making a little money, but I had no debt. And so he takes this job unbeknownst to me, and I'm living in this humongous house. And mind you, I've never worked 2 jobs. Did I ever work 2 jobs?
No,
nope, never.
Not from with us.
Ever.
Yeah, we never had you working 2 jobs.
Go, baby, go. Right. And we traveled all over, and we did so much things, and we had a great life. And I never worked 2 jobs. Here I marry somebody, and he's making this large amount of money, and I'm working 2 jobs. Like, what the heck is this? Like, excuse me? Wait a minute. And I did that because when he lost his job, I wanted to get insurance for us. So now I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, so I can be at work by 5.
At Caribou Coffee.
And then I would go to my second job at the barber shop. I mean, there was times where I had a pickle for dinner. A pickle. Because I was so tired. And I'm never had to do that when I was a single mom.
Yeah.
And here I'm married to this other person that's making a substantial amount of money. I'm trying to keep up this big house. He's gone, and he's just being horrible.
Yeah.
And wouldn't even let me go see him. And then while I'm working, he would come. Remember when he took all the beds out of the house? All the beds. And I was so tired. I thought, Lord, I just want to sleep.
Why did he take the beds out?
To make me feel uncomfortable to move out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was that nasty. And I remember one of my customers actually, because my customers were so wonderful. One of my customers, him and his wife brought over an inflatable bed. And I slept on that until I said, Lord, I just need a bed. And that weekend, I actually found a beautiful bed that was so much better than what we had before. And God always did that. Whatever he would take when I was at work. And God would give me something at such a cheap price, so much better. And it was crazy. So here I'm going through this, and I'm talking to my customer. And this was incredible. This is how good God is. So here I'm going through all this, and I'm just trying to hold on.
Did you want out at that point? Did you want to leave?
No, because I was holding on to my faith. This was a time where I felt like I was locked in with God no matter what. I just said, Lord, this is no longer between me and this is between me, you, and so I had found out at that time, because through phone bills and so forth, I found out that he was having an affair with this other person over there. And when I found out, he cut everything off. He cut this phone off. He cut his address. And I had no way of contacting this person I just married for 9 months. No contact whatsoever. Zero. I could have died and he had no clue. And he didn't even care. And it was like, Lord, this is no longer between him and I. It's between you and I. And I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you. Mm-hmm. I don't even get it. Because at first I was like, I'm so mad. I had to come to a place where it's like, Lord, nothing matters but you. I didn't even care anymore. At that point, it's like, I'm going to leave this to you. He's yours. Because honestly, at that time, when we'd go to bed, prior to him leaving, he'd put this big pillow between us. And it's like, you stay on your side and I stay on my side. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the rest of my life? Lord, is this going to be the rest of my life in a loveless marriage like this? And then God gets you to a place where he's gone and it's just like, all that matters is you. I don't care. Nothing else. And I have no clue what he's doing. I know he's out there and I'm like, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care. I don't care that he's with somebody anymore. I don't even care. I don't want to know. I just know that you work things out for good. So I'm going to believe that. And then I read about Abigail and David. And Abigail was married to a wealthy man, but he was a fool. And when I read that, I'm like, wait a minute. This sounds like me here. This man's a wealthy fool. And I thought, Lord, you either give me a king or make this man a king. Because see, there's nothing you can't do. So you either make a king or you give me a king. Because see, you're even keel with all of us. You'll do the same that you do for everybody, you'll do for anybody. So if you did that for Abigail, you can do it for me. So either make this man a king or give me a king. And at that point, I decided, I had already left from ELM, and I decided to go to a different church. Because I just didn't think that that was for them to tell me who I should be married to. In other words, I started thinking for myself and believing for myself. I had to be separated. I had to get away from all the other voices and just enough already. I need to hear from you myself.
Do you feel like that's where your power came in?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
When you went through that, how did you feel? Were you scared? Were you free? Did you feel power?
First of all, I was exhausted because remember, I'm working 2 jobs like I've never had to work before.
Yeah.
And I'm exhausted. And then I felt like I was getting, after I got through the anger, because we have to, it's like a grief, it's like kind of going through grief when you realize this, like, wait a minute here. And this man could care less. I'm his bride. And he could care less if I live or die. And then he's taking all the beds out and trying to make me as uncomfortable as I can to be here. What the heck is this crap? And then it's like, are you kidding me? And then I hear from God working through me. And it's like, okay. So this is where I think I really started working through my stuff. Really like, what the heck is really going on with me? Why would I even, like, what the heck? Why would I let someone else tell me who to marry?
Yeah.
What the hell? And to go back on the whole valuing thing. All these years where you had people saying you're not good enough, or you're not valuable, or when I was married to and literally to my face said, I find no comfort being married to you. Just horrible. And I'm being so mad, and God's like, stand down. Because I wanted to knock him silly when he said that. Like, how dare you? How dare you? And the Lord says, stand down. If you defend yourself, I can't defend you. And I was so mad at that point because he was spewing all that ugly nastiness at me. And then he left. And I remember going to my closet, which was much bigger there, and just being so mad at God and saying, Lord, why would you do that to me? Why would you make me stand? You make me feel like a punk. You made me punk out. I was so mad. And God's like, do you trust me? So at that point, myself, I had to trust God on what he was doing. Because mind you, through that, he was actually working through some of the things I had been going through. A lot of that, when you have people who are abusive in any way, whether it's physically or emotionally or verbally, okay, they're projecting.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're projecting their crap.
Yeah.
But you know what? If I'm receiving it, if I'm owning his stuff, then I've got issues myself. And I got to work through those.
Yes.
And that's the whole point. He says, I'm trying to get this crap out of you. Because see, you're better than all of this crap. I'm going to give you a king.
And you recognize in that moment that there are areas that you also need to work on. And at that point, the best thing to do was to wait because you guys were also physically separated. And even though you didn't like him feeling like he had the upper hand because of how he was able to leave, upset about that. But it's not because God is saying stand down and not advocate for yourself or not put yourself in a better position. He's saying there's something you need to learn here about yourself and why you're in this situation, and you can leave, but it's not going to help.
Because what was I doing? I was what? And before Jason, I was dating and going through what? Same person, different face.
Yeah.
Same person, different face. He says, you want something real? You want something new? Trust me. You said your picker's broke? Then let me pick them. Before I even get the one for you, I got to work this stuff out of you. Because see, you wouldn't even be able to receive what I have for you because you're too busy looking at the same thing. I got to break all that off of you. I had to have that real alone time with God to even know how to receive love. And God says that no matter what we do, if we believe, it says he works all things out for those who love him. He works all things out for good.
Yeah.
He works all things out for good. So you either make him a king, you turn him around, or you give me a king. One or the other. You do it, Lord.
So then what happened?
And then what happened? So all of a sudden I get a phone call, and 20 minutes later I'm served with divorce papers. And I remember the attorney at that time was like, you need to ask for something. I'm like, no, I want nothing from this man. I never want anything from this man other than to be my husband. So I don't know if you're a Christian or not, but I believe he's brought me through so much already. I believe he's going to bring me through this. And she couldn't understand it, but she's like, can I have someone call you just to get... And I'm like, sure, knock yourself out. But whatever, because that knowing is there. He's got me. It's like, I got you, boo.
I don't need anything from you.
I got nothing. I want nothing. I came in here and I need nothing from you, right? So tell me why he wanted to give me half of his debt. It's like, no. I don't think so. Here you go. Here you go, John.
And what did you you said no, right?
I said, excuse me? I said, you're supposed to be like this man.
What did the attorney say after she found out you weren't asking for anything from him, and then he wanted to pass you his debt?
She just took care of business. She didn't say nothing.
She knew what to do.
Bam. It's like, and I remember saying to him, look, you pride yourself on being a man of whatever. That's like, you know what? I've never had anything from you. I had zero debt. Zero. I said, the least you should do is pay your own bills. Don't give them to me. You knew that I had nothing to do. And so he did. He paid his own. He owned up on that. And he did. And then, so mind you, I'm working at Caribou Coffee. Divorce is going through. Getting up and smiling every day. Going to work. I'm smiling because I'm going to spread that cheer because God is good. And every morning I have this whole group of people that worked out every morning, and they come in and get coffee. And there's one person in particular who, we felt really bad because I heard that his wife had cancer. And it's like, are you doing okay? Are you all right? You okay? And I remember just, are you eating? Because I know how I was at times. Like I told you, I had a pickle for dinner. It's like, are you eating? And it would come in.
And she had passed already.
And she'd passed. Then she passed.
He was a widow. He was a widow.
He was a widow. She passed. And then after.
But she did have cancer.
She had cancer.
And she passed from cancer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I'll never forget how one day when he came up and he said, look, my friends had said that I should ask you out. And I remember thinking, I don't know. Because I remember just praying to God and say, look, Lord, my picker's broke. I'm just not even, I'm done. I'm just done. The next person, you're going to have to do it.
My picker is broke.
My picker is broke. I've been picking the wrong ones. So I'm going to have to leave this to you. I'm done trying to pick anybody. I'm just done. And then when he invited me on, it was a ball. It was a doctor's ball. And I thought, he's the safest person I could be around because there's just, sure. I have not felt pretty. I had not just had fun. And he's not no one that I would ever really go out with because we have nothing in common. We're completely different people. So it's the safest thing ever, sure. And so I agreed to go. And that night when we went, it was so funny because we're running through Moline Park. I have this big gown on and we're running through and someone stops and says, did you guys just get married? I was like, no, it's our first date. And, it's like, it was so comfortable. That night, we just had fun. We didn't think about anything else. We just enjoyed each other's company. It was fun. And the next thing you know,
you guys are married.
A year later, a year to the first date, we're married. And it's that whole still small voice. See, this is a diamond. This
is the rock.
Is the
that
diamond.
was the diamond in the Mind Stone of
it's
Kosovo.
like that one was not yours.
Yeah.
This one is yours.
Yeah.
And to know that, and it's like his wife had passed from cancer. And that scripture that came back again, others have died so you can live, became so real. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand it. But our son, Michael, had a dream. And he was just, we were just talking about dreams. And he said he had this recurring dream that he was actually crying when he shared the dream with me.
How old was he when he shared this?
Maybe 10. Mm-hmm. 9, 10, somewhere around there. And his lip was all quivering. He said he had this same dream. It was a recurring dream that he would have. And he said that he was at an airport with Jason and Ann and Maddie. And that he heard over the intercom that someone had to go. And Ann said, I'll go. And she left. And she was gone. And then Jason said, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. And he goes, and he just left me. Dad just left me. And I was here and he just left me. And he was like, his lips quivering. He's ready to cry. He goes, and then he came back and he just gave me a taco. Exactly.
Literally.
Yes, he did.
Literally.
And
a Mexican family.
And I said, oh, honey. I said, what's mommy now? Latina. Yeah. I said, what's a taco? Yeah, Mexican. Yeah. I said, what does it do? It feeds you. It feeds you. It nourishes you. So
that's so funny.
See, honey, it's not a bad dream. He thought it was a bad dream all the time that he had. But really, it's like, God, just down here, I'm going to give you something good. I'm going to give you a taco.
Yeah. And in no way replacing Anne. In no way.
Because in his dream, she did it. She volunteered.
Yeah.
I'll do it. See, others have died So if that had not happened, we wouldn't have the life that we have right now.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be as rich as it is right now.
Rich in love and rich in care and family and health.
And then going back again to the other scripture where, look, see your children from the north, the south, the east, and the west, carrying your sons and your daughters. And I'm like, what? What is that? What? I couldn't understand it either. And then I look at our family now, how diverse they are.
Yeah, where Maddie's from, where Michael was born.
Yes. I see John's from the Bahamas and Jenny from Africa. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got all these sons and daughters. And it's so beautiful and so diverse.
Yeah.
And there's such love. Like love.
Love. And Jason, I mean, shortly after you guys got married, we're, visiting you guys, and he is just beaming. He's like, man, I lucked out. I really lucked out. And to him, you are the most prized treasure of his life. And I just remember in that point, really remembering God's grace there. Like, wow, God, you really, you did yourself here. Like, okay. My doubt was, a little high. But you really did do this.
And that's another promise. See, when you take God's promises, and I remember I would pray this all the time. It's like, Lord, you know me. And you know I have a good imagination. You said exceedingly abundantly above all we can ask, think, or even imagine. You know I got a really good imagination. You're going to have to top that.
And he did.
And he did. And he did. When I first met Jason, and we first got married, I was so used to men jack me up and take my money and mess me up, and like even with all that money trying to give me his debt and stuff like that. That I'm like, you have your account, I have my account. Jason's a doctor, I'm a barber. Hello, who's making more money, right? And I'm like, you have your account, I have my account, and he had more and I had a little bit. And he'd say, honey, what are you doing? Don't you know that everything that's mine is yours? So he couldn't understand me, and I couldn't understand him because I was still working through that mentality, working through it. I had to have someone that really loved, that really withheld no good thing from me, because I didn't know what that was like either. I didn't know. I had no reference. So all I knew was this little bit is mine, and that's all I have. It took me a whole year for me to get it, that he really meant it when he said, all that's mine is yours.
What I love about Jason is that he looks at it in the exact same way, but with family.
Like, oh my gosh, look what she's bringing to the table.
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
my God.
I got all these grandkids.
I have,
I'm the richest man ever.
Yeah, I have more family. I have more people. But to him, this is what you bring. This is also something that you add to his life, is a richness, a goodness, a faithfulness, a loyalty, faith in itself. That's what I love about your guys' relationship and
it's drawn him out. He's a person that he never thought he would ever be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the neighbors are like, what? Like he never thought he'd love motorcycles like he does.
Yeah, he's a motorcycle lover.
Oh my gosh, I know, more than me now. God had to take me to a place where one day I hear that still small voice again and saying, Delia, Jason is founding father of DuPage Medical Group, and he's a site leader. He's given all these credentials of Jason, right? And he's just so respected and loved, right? I said, yes, Lord. He says, and you're his equal. Just blew me away. He says, you're his equal. Like, don't you dare think of yourself any less. Wow. It's like, thank you for reminding me who I am.
Who are you?
That smart, tough, rebel, badass woman who may not have the degrees, but has all the life lessons and all the love.
Thank you for listening to Tuesdays with Andrea. There are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and I appreciate you making the time to listen to mine. If you like this show and want to know more, check out TuesdaysWithAndrea.com, or please leave a review on iTunes or drop a line in the YouTube comments section. Until next time, please stay kind in your mind, nice on the web, and stay hella hopeful in your heart.